The fact that they're willing to abandon their own vehicles and then, as you mentioned, just leave by foot. And so those cars will have to be dealt with as well. We don't know if they're going to be towed or what in this situation, but clearly the road you were mentioning, Marla, is a main thoroughfare for first responders to get to, and that was the big issue, being able to get those emergency vehicles to and from the locations that they need to fight this fire.
So we're seeing that live picture there. It's shaky, understandably so. You see those active flames, all the homes in the foreground, the flames in the background, and then this picture from, now we're taking this full here so you can just see how ominous, pardon me, and scary this image is. And this is from our Santa Monica cam. We show this camera to you all the time, but it's flipped around, and we show you the coastline, we show you the Malibu coastline, and we obviously show you the Santa Monica Pier. But now we've flipped it around, and you can see the Palisades homes there on the hillside, and then those flames that are now shooting upward with all of that black smoke. We've heard from people in Agora Hills that say we can see the black smoke. We've heard from people, of course, on the west side, in downtown. This is impacting the greater Los Angeles area, even though it is centered here in Pacific Palisades. So again, we are waiting this press conference from LAFD, and we've gotten word that Governor Gavin Newsom will be there at that press conference to update us on the latest in terms of acreage and forced evacuations and number of structures lost, although I'm sure they don't have that count yet. Let's go to Christy Fajardo on the ground there. She's at Sunset and Temescal. If you haven't moved, Christy.
We have not moved, but you know what has? Traffic. In fact, if we pan this way, you can see that the street is now empty, and that is because most people evacuated earlier. Now we're only starting to see some stragglers, some of those that waited till the last minute. And I told you in the last live shot that there was a man who told us that as he was leaving El Medio, he saw 4 homes on fire. We've heard other people walking by on the phone talking about how their neighbors' homes had burned. So a lot of devastation, sadly, out here. And a short while ago, we saw a woman who had actually come to try to get in to evacuate her elderly father. She told us that he has Alzheimer's. He gets very agitated, so he won't just go with anyone. The problem is she did not have an ID that had that address on it, so she couldn't get there. Luckily, though, the LAPD here worked with her and eventually did let her in, and she was in tears as she was driving to get her father. She told us that he's lived there for 70 years. He's now in his 90s, and she just wanted to go and get him and know that he is safe. And in the last hour, we've seen these flames get closer and closer to Temescal Canyon Road, which is where we are at the corner of Sunset. And about an hour ago, there was bumper-to-bumper traffic as people were fleeing the flames. Traffic control came in, but as I said, most people had opted to evacuate earlier. And I also just spoke to a woman who told me she got the evacuation order. She lives in the neighborhood you see over there where all the smoke is, which is something over there is currently burning. She told me that she got the evacuation order at 10:30 and she left then, so she had a bag with her, but she's been standing here on Sunset just watching and hoping it doesn't reach her home. As far as she can tell, it looks like it's still burning above her neighborhood, not right in her neighborhood, so she's hoping that the winds shift directions and that the flames blow back from where they just burned through. That would be the best case scenario, but a lot of very anxious people here. We also saw a woman who came to the roadblock who was also desperate to get through. She said she was trying to get to her husband who was up the road, whose leg is in a cast, so he can't drive and he can also not walk out.
At the fire.
LAPD was also working with her to try to get her to her husband. So that's what we're seeing at this hour. A lot of very anxious people, a lot of stress, and unfortunately a lot of flames.
I don't have any audio yet, so I got to get audio.
So many terrifying personal stories you're hearing out there. Christy, thank you so much.
On this view right here.
Welcome to our coverage. We have Alex Michelson now. Good to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Sandra Endo, who's been on this air for several hours, has now been relieved, and I'll pick up the coverage with Marla for the foreseeable future here on Fox 11. If you're just joining us, a massive fire in Pacific Palisades. We warned about this last night. when we were talking about the forecast, that if there was a fire that broke out at any point, it could get very big, very fast.
700
Unfortunately,
acres,
that
man.
happened. This fire breaking out around 10:30 this morning has just exploded. We know that several structures are involved, and this flames can be seen for miles and miles in so many different directions.
We want to make sure our viewers know that if you can't be sitting down in front of a television, you can always find the latest information on our app. It's the Fox Local app. It is a wealth of information, especially in an emergency situation like this. You can find out the latest acreage, the evacuation centers. We have all the latest information from officials, and we will be, of course, streaming there live as well. So as soon as we get the latest information from LAFD, as soon as they take to that podium, they're staged at the Will Rogers State Beach. That is the staging area. Then we will bring that to you, and that will be included there. You can see right there on your screen the Fox Local app. And you can just, if you don't have it yet, you can use that QR code right now with your phone to download that. It is very useful, again, especially in an emergency life or death situation like we're seeing today in the Palisades.
It is free, and you can watch it anytime, not only just during emergencies, but really especially helpful today. Let's check in with Haley Winslow right now. She is joining us live at Will Rogers State Beach. We just saw some video from Governor Newsom tweeting out just a few minutes ago. I was just in communication with his team. I know he is there. He was supposed to be here to meet with President Biden today, but now he's there. Haley.
Yeah, we're expecting this press conference to start with him in about a half hour. He's going to speak, and we were originally told Karen Bass as well, but she will not be here. She's out of the country, but it will be one of her deputy mayors, Zach Seidel, who's also her PR person. But my friend who we just had on the air, I think, said it best, that it feels and looks like a war zone, and she's in the thick of it. But I can tell you down here,
okay, I see what's
even
going on.
at the command post,
Take me a minute here.
It feels the exact same way. So I can't imagine what it's like for them up there. It's just looking at the latest updates, and right now firefighters are trying to rescue somebody inside of a home. But we do have a few new videos I just got from two different friends. One is Trisha, who we introduced you to about 20 minutes ago, a friend of mine who is trapped in their home. They tried to leave, and they have fire on both sides. I just talked to her again, and she said, you know, I'm never terrified, and I'm terrified. She's got her son there, her and her husband, and they are just trying to figure out what to do. They can't get out. The roads are obviously closed. And then we also have another video from a friend in Santa Monica. So he's shooting.
Let's see how I can get this to work.
He's on Adelaide, and you can see the fire moving south.
Why isn't that working?
It's really unbelievable. I mean, and you can
there
see
it is.
Active flames, obviously. We've got a lot of emergency vehicles.
That thing's must be getting worn out or something. I don't know.
A lot of moving parts. So we're right here at
Bear with me a minute.
On Will Rogers State Beach, here right off of the PCH. It has been chaotic, to say the least. Really a wild day, and obviously this is only the beginning. So you can see the sky. I would say that's the most impressive, just how ominous it looks. And the wind gusts every once in a while will almost knock you off your feet, and they haven't even really been that strong considering what's to come. But yeah, we've got a lot of first responders from Orange County to Los Angeles to LA County, and a lot of police officers just filing in here. It's taken a bit, you guys, as you can imagine, to get here for them. The traffic was a nightmare. It's finally moving now, but we've seen you can't really see it anymore because you can't even make out the Santa Monica Mountains, but you were, just a few minutes ago, you could see active flames just right down the road from here, basically. So to show that the fire is spreading to now more than 800 acres. So as soon as this presser starts, we will, of course, let you know right away so that you can tune in and hear the very latest.
And we're expecting that in hopefully 20 minutes.
Yeah, I know it's busy there, and of course, when that happens, we'll bring that to our viewers live. And now this is a really sad, devastating live picture here, and you can see the firefight of this beautiful home, two-story home, it looks like. I don't have an exact location. Maybe we can get that. Where this live camera is in the Palisades, but obviously this home is at this point looking like a potential total loss as the fire crews there, LAFD, they're scrambling to put out those flames. And Alex, if you can see, obviously the flames shooting through that second story, but on the back of the house, you wonder, adjacent to it, and then if there's another home in the backyard, that one ember, it just needs to just jump one roof to the next, and you know, there you have an entire block on fire.
And as we so often talk about, fires create their own weather patterns, but then you look at how intense the winds are anyways, and this thing isn't close to being out. You just feel for this family. You think about all of their memories and likely the pictures and everything that goes with somebody's home, as we, you know, having some signal challenges, because as you know, cell signal in that area is already bad. You now have all this, you know, destruction happening, which is interfering with a lot of our cellular towers, all the rest of it, making getting the pictures out of there difficult. But you can see this even from miles away, that line of flame that is in the middle of one of the most picturesque areas in all of Southern California. Really just beautiful area that people from around the world think of Southern California, and unfortunately it is now burning.
Yeah, not far from where you and I both covered the Franklin fire in Malibu weeks ago, if you check the calendar, maybe even a month ago, but it was really recent. And then before that, we had the fire in Ventura County as well, which was absolutely devastating, with hundreds of homes lost. And that was also one of those very rare, particularly dangerous events, as described by the National Weather Service. So look at this plume of smoke that we're seeing.
I'm right on top of the router.
Rain, measurable rain. I know Adam can correct me. I believe since May.
Yeah, I mean, early May, first week of May, there was a decent amount. It was still less than an inch. Since mid-May, officially in downtown Los Angeles, it's been 0.16 inches, and that's about 8 months. So, you know, that's about as dry as it gets. A near record driest stretch of weather for us, so no surprise, the vegetation very dry. You know, we unfortunately, going through November and especially December, we saw storm system after storm system miss us off to the north. Northern California seeing plenty of wet weather through this rainy season, just nothing making it down towards us. And so yeah, just extremely dry vegetation. The stage was set, not just in terms of how dry it's been for months, but also the weather setup with this scenario. And for anyone who just joined, you know, recently, I'll reiterate what we said earlier, is that the winds, as strong as they've been, will get stronger tonight after the sun goes down, but especially after about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. From that point through about 8, 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
That place is always on fire,
right there, about 12 hours, the winds will be at their peak out of this event. And we could potentially, according to some models, see some wind gusts 60 to maybe even 70 miles per hour in or around the Pacific Palisades, which will be higher than we've had so far. So, you know, already a very tough situation. Weather-wise, will get more difficult as we go through tomorrow. And those high wind warnings, they expire at 6 p.m. tomorrow, so that gives us a little sense that when the worst of this weather-wise is done, still Santa Ana winds, though, to some degree, will be hanging around through Thursday in a lot of Southern California as well.
All right, Adam, thank you. Well, of course, first and foremost, in a firefight, any firefight, LAFD, the firefighters, they always want to save life first and then property. So, you know, we haven't heard of any injuries. It's obviously too soon. So that is, at this point, really great news. Unfortunately, we've seen in so many homes that have gone up, and then images like this from earlier of cars that were just sort of left abandoned. This is a live picture, in fact.
That, I mean, we overuse that phrase, this looks like a war zone, but that looks like a horror movie, right? I mean, when you think about that, when some of those movies where the cars are abandoned and everybody has to get out quickly, that looks like that image right there.
Well, to paint a more clear picture, this is what I was referring to earlier, that LAFD said any abandoned cars, we're going to have to bulldoze your cars to clear access for the firefight. So at one point, they may have just been in a single file, and now they've been bulldozed to be pushed to the side. So all of these vehicles, and at last count, I mean, LAFD said in one spot was 30 vehicles. Clearly there's a lot more, given this live picture as a photographer, and thank you to whomever is behind the camera for taking us up this road and showing us the damage of this Audi, obviously, as we're seeing there, the damage from the bulldozer on the side. It looks like maybe a pet was in that vehicle as well. We've heard a lot about that today too, where people have gone out and it looks like some groceries, in the back. They had gone out to run an errand, and then the fire began, and they couldn't get back home, and their pet was back at home, and they couldn't get the pet. Looks like the lights are still on. Perhaps there, or maybe that's just the
we'll just have to watch it. They were taking a bulldozer a while ago
car after car
and moving
after
these
car.
out of the way.
It does
People
look like
just jumped out and left the keys in the car.
And you feel for all of
the
those
keys with
residents.
They put in that big giant bulldozer right on them,
That's just awful to see. But you understand, I guess, the need to get fire trucks up these roads and try to save people's lives, and ultimately you can replace a car, but you can't replace somebody's life, and there is an urgent life or death fight. I mean, last night Adam Kruger was telling us the phrase that they were putting out.
You know what happens there at the
life-threatening
fire
weather, fire conditions, and this is indeed what we're looking at. This is a life-threatening fire, and fortunately so far, Marla, we do not have any reports of any injuries or deaths because of this. Yeah, it looks like that is probably a bed for a dog or a cat. But you know, it would not be shocking, given what we're looking at right now, if we found out that there was, you know, a situation like that, based off of these conditions.
And we've seen a lot of elderly people too. We heard from Christy Fajardo that they were afraid to leave, of course, and they weren't sure how to, and fortunately neighbors or family members were able to get to them and literally walking them out of their homes. We've seen a lot of that.
I want to bring into the conversation right now my pal Joel Pollack, who is a regular on our political show, The Issue Is. He's with Breitbart News, but more importantly, he's a Santa Monica resident and a husband and a father who lives in the middle of this neighborhood that has been evacuated. Joel joins us now live. Joel, thanks for calling in. First off, how are you doing? How's your family doing?
We are fine. We're in Santa Monica right now, but we actually live in the Palisades near where the fire is. So we are feeling fortunate that we were able to leave in time, but obviously we're very concerned for our neighbors in our neighborhood.
Talk about what it was like when you were leaving, what it looked like, and the vibe with the rest of your neighbors.
So our nanny was walking our 3-month-old and smelled smoke at about 10:30 and sent my wife and I a text message saying that she smelled smoke and that it might be nearby. So I said, okay, I'm coming home. And I texted my wife and the nanny and said, let's just pack up in case we need to evacuate. And I don't know exactly why, because we've had high winds before and there have been wildfires somewhat nearby before, but I had a feeling that this might be more serious. As soon as I pulled onto PCH from Santa Monica, I saw the column of smoke and realized right away this was going to be a very big fire. And we packed everything up in about 15 minutes. My wife went to the school, Marquez Charter, which is an LAUSD school, to pick up one of our kids, and we left. When we were leaving, the first fire engines were coming into the community from other communities. They were setting up their positions, and the traffic was starting to build up on Sunset. And we were able to get out of the neighborhood, but I understand that many others were not, and people actually abandoned their cars along the side of Sunset Boulevard, which made it even harder to evacuate. So we feel fortunate that we got out in time, but there really have to be some improvements in how we handle these situations, because there should have been police directing traffic. They should have issued an evacuation order a lot earlier than they did. There was a problem at the school where initially they were asking parents to fill out forms to take their kids out of school rather than just getting the kids out of school as soon as possible. I don't think that we were prepared as a city for
Reed got him a new radio
like this. Individually,
this is one I had like that.
Very well, and as we were leaving, we offered neighbors rides, and people were in high spirits.
RCA co-pilot.
But I think it happened so quickly that a lot of people were just unable
it's
to
not
react.
as in good a shape,
but
it's still pretty nice. It's got a few scratches there.
or at the
there,
school
so
district also. They just
somebody
weren't
with
ready.
a screwdriver or
That's the
something
feeling
got
a lot
on
of
there
us have,
scratching around,
that
you know.
this really could have been handled
It
better.
works. I've talked
Yeah,
on
I
it.
mean,
It's got
Joel,
this echo
Marlette
mic.
is here. Good to have you. I'm sorry it's under these conditions. We were
mic,
just showing
Superstar
those images of the abandoned
on there.
vehicles, and we got word that at one point, one of these
Let's put it
roads,
on,
and this
old
may have
radio
been one,
night
where it was
sometime
literally
soon.
curb to curb of cars that were abandoned, and to
Gotta
get
get an antenna
access
in
for the
here.
firefighters, they had to use bulldozers to literally bulldoze
But,
the stranded vehicles off to the side. So all of those vehicles are now damaged as a result.
14T301.
Glad you're safe. Any word on the integrity of your home right now as it relates to where those flames are?
Our house, unfortunately, is directly in the path of the fire. When we left, it was about a half-mile up the hill, but we're not sure it's going to stay that way, and we are anxiously checking cameras and things like that to see what happens. We do want to thank all of the first responders and firefighters who are out there trying to keep the neighborhood safe, but unfortunately, we know that some of the homes further up the hill have been damaged or destroyed. And we're hoping that that doesn't happen.
So we got to do that.
We are
see what we got
glad
here.
we have fire insurance, which is also
That's
another
good.
issue. More people need fire insurance in California, but hopefully things will turn out for the best. We're just glad that everybody in our family is safe, and we're thinking of all the people who are still trying to get out.
You're the father of several young kids. How do you talk about this with them?
Well, we just had to pick up one of our kids from preschool, and we explained to her that we couldn't go home tonight because there is a fire near our house, but we'll go home when it's over, and the firefighters are going to put it out. And she seemed satisfied by that explanation, and it's a bit of an adventure for them because they don't understand yet what's happening. But our eldest, who's at a different school, heard from a classmate that her home had burnt down because the classmate's mother inadvertently called my daughter's phone instead of my wife's.
RCA
and so
21
my
radios.
daughter, who's 12, panicked and hadn't heard about the fire, and so went to the school office and called us, and my wife had to calm her down. So it's a challenge.
And lastly, Joel, you know, as a journalist yourself who covers the news and tries to cover the news somewhat dispassionately a lot of times, what's it like now to be in the middle of a news story like this?
Well, this is never the kind of story you want to be in the middle of, but we live in a state that has periodic droughts, and whether you believe in climate change or not, we have to manage a dry environment. We had 2 wonderfully wet winters the last 2 years, but ironically that caused a lot of brush to grow, and there hasn't been any rain this winter so far, so there's a lot of fuel and it's very dry, and we need to talk about how to be more careful about fire. There's a suggestion, it hasn't been proven yet, but there's a suggestion from some neighbors that people had been setting off fireworks on New Year's Eve nearby, and that caused a fire on New Year's Day that was put out, but it's possible that the smoldering remnants of that fire ignited in these high winds. There needs to be, I think, greater awareness of the danger of fireworks in these dry conditions, and I think there are a lot of questions to ask of our public authorities, including our schools, about why we weren't better prepared for this, but also we need to ask about how we can manage living in this environment more safely, because this is going to be a risk for the foreseeable future.
Joel Pollack from Breitbart News, our friend here at Fox 11 and often guest on our political show, The Issue Is, for our first ever episode of The Issue Is. Joel, we're thinking about you and your family. We hope your home turns out to be okay, but we're glad most of all that you're all safe and that you're together, and sending love to you all.
Thank you very much, and hope everyone else is also safe.
Thanks so much.
We just got an update in terms of acreage, and it's on your screen if you're looking at the screen. This is from CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE now estimates the Palisades fire is at 1,262 acres. So just a couple hours ago, it was at 770, and now we're up to almost 1,300 acres. This picture, this is a live picture from our Santa Monica camera. This is from Ocean Boulevard, the main drag right there along PCH in the Pacific Ocean, of course, and it's high up there, and we're seeing those flames, those active flames, the massive plume of smoke, and then, of course, the foreground, all of those homes that are under evacuation warnings and or orders.
We're expecting a press conference, including the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, in the next 5 minutes or so. When that begins, we will take you there live. In the meantime, we want to bring Christy Fajardo back into the conversation. She's standing by. Christy, what are you seeing from your vantage point right now?
Try again later, okay.
Well, we're actually at Sunset and Temescal Canyon, and we just got a big gust of wind, and it kicked up. Take a look here behind me, all of the smoke and dust and ash, and it started to obscure flames, but that whole hillside is on fire. We've been watching as it gets closer and closer to Sunset Boulevard. And today, sadly, we've heard a lot of tales of heartbreak. People who have lost their homes, who are evacuating, and say they also saw neighbors' homes on fire. But there's also stories of heroism, including one man that we spoke to a short while ago. His name is Patrick Hildebrand, and I want to share with you with what he told us.
That one there.
No, you know, it's at your risk. Oh.
So you got some people out?
I went up, I took one guy up to check his mom on Enchanted Way, which is 4 houses from the house we lost, and then top of El Medio, him and I were up there and we watched 2 houses go up. And it's the palm trees, really, like they just explode and it spreads everywhere.
And you said you lost your house? Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Insured, cat is safe, got the medications and the paperwork. You know, everybody's healthy. That's all that matters. So.
Well, you're amazing, because I mean, you just suffered a loss, but you're still out there helping people.
What else am I going to do? Sit around? I mean, tears. You know, so that's not going to help anything. So yeah, I want to help people. So,
it's nice to see the communities, you know, looking out for each other.
Yes, and these bikes, people don't like these bikes, but right now these bikes are saving people.
And he went back in again. He is still trying to help people at this hour. And a short while ago, there were a lot more people here. It seems that those who had opted to ignore the evacuation order are now heeding it. And that's also evidenced by what we're seeing here. If you had come out to us about an hour ago, this would have been backed up. You would have seen cars bumper to bumper on Sunset Boulevard. But traffic control came in, and most people had already evacuated, so traffic slowed down, and now, as you can see, non-existent. But we're still seeing people who are coming in frantic to get to loved ones. About a half hour ago, we spoke to a woman whose father has Alzheimer's, and he gets very agitated, so he can't just go with anyone. She was desperate to get to him and get him out. She told us he'd been living in that house for 70 years. Trouble is, she didn't have the proper ID, because to get in, you need an identification that shows the address in the evacuation order area. She didn't have that because she does not live with her father, but fortunately, the officers here worked with her, and she was in tears as she was let through. That's the latest from here. Let's send it back to you.
Oh my goodness, what an emotional exchange that would have been. I'm so glad that they let her through to get to her father. All right, Christy, thank you so much. We want to show you, this is the smaller picture here. That is the command post at Will Rogers State Beach. You see all those fire officials sort of milling about. They're obviously there together to unify and to inform. We are waiting for a press conference to start. You see the woman taking the podium. Obviously, there'll be some mic checks, and we know that Governor Gavin Newsom, he is there. Maybe he is there amongst the crowd right now. I don't see him, but he is said to be there and will be speaking. Looks like Sheriff's Department is there. This is an all hands on deck effort, this firefight, of course. As we're zooming in, we see Zach Seidel with LA Mayor Karen Bass's office.
And Captain Eric Scott there from the LA Fire Department, who's such a great spokesperson for them, who's guided us through this. We'll probably hear from him. We see some of the reporters doing some mic checks to make sure that everybody's ready. This press conference is expected to begin at any moment now. We see the Los Angeles Police Department is there. This is a fire that's so big you expect to see a lot of other agencies from other parts of the state and potentially even from around the country come in to help. But right now we do see the folks from Southern California taking the lead on this fire, and and we expect to potentially hear new information in terms of the acreage and new information in terms of the plan to fight this fire tonight, because Marla, the bad news is the winds are supposed to get worse, right?
You know. Yes, so we've heard from Adam Kruger, our chief meteorologist, who's tracking those sustained wind speeds and gusts that later on around midnight they're forecasted to be as high as 60 miles per hour, even into the 70s for your Wednesday morning. That doesn't mean that it actually will be that, but it's definitely going to pick up. There will be a moment for a little bit of a reprieve later on, thank goodness, but that's not going to last long. And I know that you're pointing to LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath is there, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, Tracy Park.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, the governor just arrived here along with some of the other officials. Governor Newsom was in Southern California, supposed to be with President Biden today in Thermal, which is in the Coachella Valley, to designate a national monument.
Looks like the
president did not end up going there because it was deemed not safe to travel there. And so he made that announcement virtually, and then Governor Newsom, instead of staying in Thermal, came here to Southern California to meet with the folks responsible for this. He just got a tour in that area of some of the flames there, and so he is a part of this emergency response. We see Lindsay Horvath there, as you mentioned, from the LA County Board of Supervisors as well. It looks like Marquise Harris Dawson, who is the City Council President, is there. So basically, almost all of the elected officials, sans Karen Bass, who apparently is out of the country, the mayor of Los Angeles, are there together to try to show a unified front in talking about what happens there. John Lee, member of the City Council, Tracy Park, member of the City Council, Chief Crowley, right, all there. And so my guess is a lot of them are going to talk, and it's probably going to take a while.
I didn't like it because of these metal
approaching the
pins
podium.
right
maybe this is just for mic check or to get remarks set up, but it looks like this press conference will be underway sooner than later. While we wait for that, we had Matthew Seedorf in a really precarious situation earlier where homes were burning. Let's show you that.
On Via Cresta, we've been seeing these flames grow even more, especially with that wind right now. You can see this massive plume of smoke and flames. Windows are breaking, and really, this home, it seems like it's being considered a loss because of the massive fire. And Sam, if you want to follow us to the home next to it, it looks like it was under construction, but it is now gone. We've been trying to speak with residents out here, and for the most part, it seems like people have evacuated. But we did speak with someone that drove by, just wondering, where are the firefighters? We did see a couple of firefighters nearby, and we've actually been even trying to help them put out some of these hot spots on homes using garden hoses. There's another house, if we can follow this direction, that's also up in flames right now. Just feel the heat coming off of that, and the embers that are going up in the air with these winds that are gusting in some spots over 30 miles per hour. Firefighters just got to this home on the other side of Via Cresta. That's also up in flames right now. And we have 3 firefighters here. And it looks like they're getting this fire knocked down pretty good, but about half the fire, half the home looks like it was heavily damaged by these flames. Looks like they're trying to get inside the garage right now. They're trying to get inside the garage right now just so they can get another angle of this fire. And hopefully there's no one inside. It looks like they're just trying to attack from the inside. Very scary situation.
Can't turn up the volume because it's dark.
Wow. Amazing
They have been able to leave their home and go down the hill. There's fire all around them, they said. I've heard that the Starbucks on the corner there potentially was in flames.
As we continue to look at some of these pictures
the homes up there, there's fires. I don't know if ours is. I didn't get any word on that, but I think the most important part was that the scariest part was that it felt unsafe for people, not just like people people's homes, of course, it's devastating. But people's lives, I think, were at stake, and you go on the emergency route, you go and you're supposed
and hopefully
to
get
go,
some
and
guidance in terms of where we go from here, and maybe some updated numbers
Hope
in
that'll
terms
be a
of the
little bit
strategy.
better. I
We
don't
heard
know
from
if
Joel
you can
Pollack, who is from Breitbart, but also a resident there who is concerned and frustrated by some of the response that led to images like this. It'll be interesting to hear if they address any of those potential concerns. Although right now we're sort of in the life-threatening fight-or-flight mode for this, and maybe there'll be time for some of the after-action analysis. They really want to get through the brunt of this, and we are in an emergency crisis situation happening right now as we continue to look at live pictures of all of these abandoned cars that are no longer going to be working.
It is a sight to see. In terms of acreage, CAL FIRE is now estimating it to be at 1,262 acres.
No echo,
a wide swath of the Palisades under a mandatory evacuation. Those numbers could be updated when we get the latest from LAFD and the governor. That will happen, as you heard Alex say, momentarily. Evacuation centers are set up. One is at Westwood Recreation Center. This is on Sepulveda Boulevard between Wilshire and Ohio. They do accept small animals, and then also the Dream Center, and that's a little further out.
Oh, wow.
Or farther out, pardon me. The Dream Center in Hollywood, that has opened its doors 24/7 to anybody who needs some help. They have opened their doors as an evacuation center as well. They do such great work, and they have decided to open their doors for this very scary emergency that is underway in the Palisades.
And the Dream Center usually performs the function of helping the homeless through faith-based rehabilitation programs and work programs, and a very successful year-long program to help people get clean and sober. But in times of crisis, as we've seen over and over again, they have stepped up to serve the greater community, and it sounds like they are doing that once again. Are those sprinklers that are on? Yeah. So as we look at this street with these abandoned cars, as we continue to get a sense, and it looks like some officials here may be approaching the microphone. And are we about to begin here? Looks like we are about to begin this press conference as we see the assembled leadership from Southern California and the state, and we had a feeling that seal was not going to stand, but we know who's here. We now see Jim McDonald, the chief of LAPD, is there as well. And so
Chief Maroney as well, Chief Crowley, and the tall one, that is the public information officer who you see often on your television, Eric Scott. He provides great information on behalf of LAFD. There's county, there's city, there's state officials, so it runs the whole gamut. I'm sure this is going to last for some time as they update us, and then hopefully there'll be another update later tonight. But first and foremost, this would be the first press conference since fire broke out at 10:30.
Okay, my name is Captain Eric Scott, the lead public information officer for the Palisades Fire. On behalf of everyone behind me, thank you for being here. Thank you for educating the public through your message. So this is all for the Palisades Fire, which is approximately 1,200 acres. And to go into all the specifics, we have a list of 8 individuals that will speak for you today. After those 8 individuals, we'll have Spanish, and then we'll have follow-up questions. After that, we'll have one-on-one interviews and let you know when the next press conference will be. So we ask at this time, please silence your cell phones, turn down your radios, keep your sidebar conversations off to the side. But to begin with, we'd like to call up the fire chief of the Los Angeles City Fire Department, Kristen Crowley.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. We'll be giving you a brief on what your LAFD has done up to this point. So at 10:30 this morning, a brush fire was reported at 1190 North Piedra Miranda Drive in our local fire station here right behind us, at Fire Station 23. Los Angeles is currently experiencing an extreme fire weather condition with red flag alert. At the time of the fire, the relative humidity was 12, and the winds were approximately 25 miles an hour with gusts up to 50 miles per hour. Based on the red flag weather, your LEFD pre-deployed additional resources, made public awareness notifications, and issued parking restrictions in high-hazard fire areas to ensure that the means of access and egress of our local fire stations and apparatus could move up and in around the area. First LEFD resources reported initially a 10-acre fire with 40-mile-per-hour winds and alignment heading towards the west or towards the ocean. The LEFD then requested all resources, including strike
radar,
teams and aircraft from assisting agencies.
And that's them.
We
Ray
then
sent
went
me
into an
that.
aggressive attack
That's where they've
and
been flying
focused
over.
our efforts on fire life safety
Right there.
operations, beginning with
Thank you.
evacuations. Currently, the fire is at 1,261 acres and growing based on aerial reconnaissance. The fire is being fueled by a combination of strong winds and surrounding topography, which is making it extremely challenging for our personnel that are assigned to this incident. We currently have over 250 LEFD firefighters on scene, including 46 engines, 3 trucks, 5 helicopters, 4 brush patrols, 2 water tenders, 6 paramedic ambulances, 1 fast response vehicle, 1 advanced nurse practitioner unit, 2 bulldozers, 10 chief officers, fire investigators, and safety officers. Additionally, we're so grateful for the hundreds of law enforcement officers, partner agencies, first responders, and public work members that are engaged actively in this operation. PCH is closed from Lincoln Tunnel to Topanga Boulevard. Evacuation orders are in place for approximately 30,000 residents, including the Highlands area. North of PCH, south of Topanga Canyon Boulevard, east of Tuna Canyon Road, west of Seabreeze Drive and Surfside Drive. Our evacuation center is the Westwood Recreation Center located at 1350 South Sepulveda Boulevard in LA. The population threatened is approximately 25,748.
71 degrees out there.
Approximately 10,367. Structures threatened are approximately 13,208. At this point, we feel very blessed at this point that there's no injuries that are reported. We do have reports of multiple structures that are damaged. Since the beginning of this fire, I've been in constant communication with Mayor Bass, as well as other city leadership, who's working very, very closely. As you can see, this entire entity behind me, we're working seamlessly and closely to ensure that we are protecting lives and property first. So with that, we'll go ahead and introduce the next speaker.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. The next speaker will be the Los Angeles County Fire Chief Maroney.
So good afternoon. My name is Anthony Maroney. I'm the County of Los Angeles Fire Department Chief. Shortly after the start of the Palisades fire, LA County Fire did assist the City of Los Angeles with the first alarm brush assignment. At 11:30 hours this morning, our LA County Fire Department went into unified command with the City of Los Angeles, and at 12:30, our CAL FIRE partners from the state went into unified command with not only LA City Fire, LA County Fire, and LAPD. Currently, LA County Fire is providing aerial resources to fight this brush fire, including our Firehawk helicopters, our CH-47, part of our nighttime QRF resource that we have, in addition to our CL-415 Super Scoopers. We also have 3 engine strike teams assigned and almost 100 LA County Fire personnel. I want to let all of the viewers and listeners know that we are not out of danger.
When you do
the National Weather Service has predicted that the winds are going to pick up and get worse. We're going to have the most significant wind event between 10 p.m. this evening and 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So it's incumbent that everybody have a wildfire action plan for their home. If they live in a brush-covered area, please visit the LA County Fire Department website for Ready, Set, Go information. So that's fire.lacounty.gov. always on
fire out there.
And for the most up-to-date incident information and emergency preparedness information, go to lacounty.gov/emergency. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. During emergencies, always by our side is our friends from law enforcement. So we'd like to invite LAPD Chief of Police Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much. We are here in a support role to our fire partners. Just a quick rundown. We have over 100 officers here deployed, another approximately 60 ready to be deployed once a mission is given to them. So far, the major job for our people have been evacuation, traffic control, allowing ingress and egress to emergency vehicles, and those can be helpful. I would have an ask that if you would, please do everything you can to open up the streets so we can get the resources we need to be able to deal with this emergency. Please take this wind emergency very seriously. As you heard from the speakers before me, this is something that is going to get worse throughout the night. So we all have to look out for each other. Areas of evacuation so far, about 30,000 people have been evacuated from a total of 10,000 households or 15,000 structures to include businesses and other buildings so far with no injury. So we're very thankful for that, but we truly ask for all assistance that we can get in making this as smooth as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief McDonald. I would also like to call up LA County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, please.
Thank you. My deepest thanks to the first responders who are working tirelessly to fight this Palisades fire. Moments ago, Chair Barger signed LA County's emergency proclamation for this fire, for the severe wind event, and all of the fires related to it. As the National Weather Service predicted, this is a life-threatening situation. To our Palisades and Topanga community under evacuation order, please leave. Ensure your home is unlocked, the power is off, and making sure first responders can easily access the structure. This is essential to keeping you safe and to allowing fire and first responder personnel to do their work. For our unincorporated communities in Santa Monica Mountains, including Sunset Mesa, Topanga Canyon, and Malibu, all under evacuation order and evacuation warning, please ensure you are checking emergency.lacounty.gov and heeding all door-to-door information from our LA County Sheriff and Fire Departments. Thanks to our partners at the Topanga Coalition for Emergency Preparedness, who work year-round to practice evacuation drills and emergency preparedness, and they're working tirelessly right now to ensure information is shared across Topanga. For those with livestock, the evacuation location is Pierce College. For those needing small animal evacuation location, the Agora Animal Shelter is available to you. Thank you to Governor Newsom for your quick support and coordination. Thanks to Mayor Bass, to Councilmember Park, and all of the council members in the city, and all of our partners, city, county, and state, unified and working together to keep people safe and address this fire. The county and city of Los Angeles have a lot of experience in unified command. This emergency is no different. We're dedicating every resource we can to urgently contain this fire. I want to extend my gratitude to the Los Angeles County Fire Department, the Sheriff's Department, the Office of Emergency Management, and all of our county partners. I know LAUSD officials also wanted to be with us, but given the conditions, that was challenging. A few school updates. Topanga Elementary at Woodland Hills Academy will be relocated all week. Palisades and Marquez Elementaries will be relocated at Brentwood Science Magnet for tomorrow. Paul Revere Middle School will be relocated at University High tomorrow. Pali High School is not in session this entire week, and Canyon Elementary will be relocated at a location to be determined. To those affected by the Palisades fire, I know today is terrifying and it is painful. Please know that you are not alone. The County of Los Angeles and all of our partners are here together to stand with you and be in support of you. Thank you again to everyone who is contributing resources to this incident. Your partnership is appreciated, and it is essential to keeping people safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Next, we'd like to bring up Los Angeles City Council President Marquis Harris-Dawson.
Thank you so much. I just want everybody to know that since this morning, about 7 a.m., I've been in direct communication with Mayor Bass, who's on her way home from a diplomatic mission on behalf of the United States government. She will be here within hours. Also, we want everybody to know that the city is well prepared and has a tremendous emergency management infrastructure who has been on the case since 6 this morning at the beginning of this wind event. I'm proud to say that we have some of the best men and women anywhere in our fire department, our police department, as well as their partners across the state and across the county. I am also want everybody to know that as acting mayor and president of the LA City Council,
that's my buddy right there.
County, and
He's
we'll
up
hear
in
from
Canada.
The governor later. The city of LA is declaring a state of emergency through this wind event, and we'll have all resources on deck. And our ask, our personal ask, and we'll hear from the council member from this district, but if you can stay off of our roads, please do so to allow emergency vehicles to go across the city. And also remember, we'll continue to drive this home. The worst and most severe part of this wind event is yet to come. So if you're around the city and you have been spared, be thankful, but also be on guard. Bring your lawn furniture in, and again, help us by staying off the roads. And I will ask the council member from this district who's been on the street since early this morning, making sure the neighborhoods have the information that they need and resources that they need, to come to the podium, our own Councilwoman Tracy Park.
Thank you everyone for being here, and Council President Harris-Dawson. I want to begin by thanking all of our public safety partners. LA City Fire has over 250 firefighters on the front lines in the hillsides right now, actively fighting this fire, supported by more than 100 firefighters from LA County Fire, as well as additional resources from Orange County, Ventura County, CAL FIRE, and neighboring cities, including Arcadia and Santa Monica. I also want to thank our partners in law enforcement for their terrific coordinated response with us today. LAPD, LA County Sheriff's Department, CHP is here, as well as our park rangers. Obviously, the scope and scale of today's fire here in the Palisades has been terrifying. We are so incredibly grateful for the swift response. And to my constituents here in the Pacific Palisades, I want to reiterate, this is not a drill. This is an actual public safety emergency. Areas west of Mandeville Canyon and north of Sunset have been ordered for evacuation, so please make sure that you are packed and ready to go and complying with all directives being given to you by law enforcement and our partners at the fire service as well. LA City is activating emergency shelter at Westwood Recreation Center. People in the Palisades who have been displaced by today's events are invited to go there. We are working with animal services to receive and care for pets that are being displaced as well. And as additional resources come online, we'll be providing those updates for you. Local residents should follow along for additional information and updates through official city channels, as well as LAPD, LAFD, and LA County updates, as this is a dynamic situation. This is a fast-moving and growing fire at over 1,200 acres at this point. And with the predicted wind patterns and continued weather events, we expect the situation to continue through the evening. It may take our partners at fire a couple of days to get the situation under control. It may be some time until people are allowed to return to their homes and residences. Please bear with us through this period as our public safety partners work hard to protect lives and property and ensure that this area is safe before people return. In the meantime, if anyone needs additional assistance, I would welcome them to reach out to me and my team. All of our contact information is at cd11.lacity.gov. Thank you to my friends and constituents.
She doesn't even need a teleprompter. That's great. They ought to get her
for being here with us today. Thank you so much.
Somebody for the government to do talking. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. We'd like to now ask Council Member John Lee to please speak.
Let's see what else we got.
First of all, I just want to thank all the firefighters who are and first responders that are fighting this fire right now. Also, a big thank you to all the organizations throughout the city, county, and state that are assisting our firefighters in what they need to do today. As chair of the Public Safety Committee, it's my job to monitor situations all throughout the city of Los Angeles. And the most important information that I can share with you today is to all of our residents. As soon as we get any new information, we are trying to disseminate that as quickly as possible. It's important that you listen to that information. As someone who represents a district that is commonly affected by fires, one of the issues that we ask our residents to do is if you're asked to evacuate, if you're asked to have to, whatever it is that we're asking you, if you're in one of those affected areas, that you don't create additional problems for our firefighters, so our firefighters can focus on what they're supposed to do, and that's getting this fire out. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Council Member. And now we'd like to ask the Governor, Gavin Newsom, to please speak.
Thank everybody. Hell of a way to start a new year. Again, let me add my voice, the voice of so many others, and extending deep appreciation to the men and women in uniform across jurisdictions. I want to thank, in particular, Chief Crowley and Chief Maroney for your outstanding leadership, Police Chief, Sheriff's Office,
Gavin Newsom, there he is.
Our local law enforcement agencies that work hand in glove. There is simply no better mutual aid system anywhere in the United States of America, and you're seeing it now at scale once again here in Southern California. I say once again because we were here not too long ago, the Franklin fire. A few weeks prior to that, the Mountain Fire, November, December, now January. There's no fire season, it's fire year, it's year round. And it's incredibly important that we heed the warnings, the calls, that we're not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. You may feel at home that you're fine down in Riverside County, San Bernardino County, down in Ventura County, other parts of the state, but there's a reason we pre-positioned hundreds of assets and personnel on Sunday in anticipation of this wind event. 110 engines specifically were sent down, 45 by CAL FIRE, 65 through our mutual aid system through the Office of Emergency Services, water tenders down here, 7 new helicopters we brought from Northern California down to Southern California. We just brought our C-130 down from Northern California and already just had its first drop. By no stretch of the imagination are we out of the woods. You heard a chief say 10 p.m. tonight to 5 a.m. tomorrow will be peak winds. And having just quite literally an hour or so ago gone up the canyon and saw firsthand the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed, not a few, many structures already destroyed, and the fact that people were still not evacuated, still did not heed the warning, we're just coming down the canyon, is a reminder of how serious this moment is and how important it is you listen to these evacuation orders. We've all been to memorials. I've never been to a memorial for a building, but for family members and loved ones. I know you cannot say this enough. It's foundational. One other thing I want to say, because you can't say it enough, is expression of gratitude. The President of the United States happens to be in town. It didn't take more than a text message to get the FMAG approved, which means we're getting reimbursed for the vast majority of these costs. No politics, no hand-wringing, kissing of the feet. The President of the United States said, yes, what else do you need? Emergency proclamations being drafted as we speak. And I just want to thank the President because that's something I don't take for granted. It's something we should not take for granted at this moment in American history. So thank you, President Biden, as well. Final point. we encourage you. You heard all those websites. I don't want to burden you with any more except one.
That bulldozer went through there. Smash him out the way. Oh shit, busted window out. Damn it. Pacific Palisades, yeah. Yeah. Find out something else to look at. Pretty good picture, though.
Washer's all washed up. I love it.
AC went kaput.
Wow. 772 acres, this coming now from CAL FIRE.
That has more than doubled since we talked about it, what, 25 minutes ago?
Right.
We have
We got wind, geez.
Lacey Nouri. She's a friend of one of our reporters here, Brittany Hope, who was in the area. Brittany, are you, Nouri, are you with us? Lacey.
Hi, how are you? Yes.
I think I ran the gamut on names.
Gotta have this. He's my moderator.
Okay, it's all right. I respond to
It's my moderator. They my moderator.
Well, thanks for joining us. Talk to us about your experience out there today.
Around 40, see out my window what the smoke. LA made it pretty to what fire looks like. So to my husband said, hey, there's a brush fire near us. I think it was on New Year's Day. There's a fire in that same spot. So I kept watching it. I walked out
breaking up
off of stage and continued to monitor it, and it slowly, 15 to 20 minutes, started to grow, started and I texted and said, hey, this fire is moving fast. So, yeah, that was my experience with things.
You know, Lacey, we're having a slight problem with your cell service there, understandably so. Again, you live on, you said Glen Haven?
No, we live off of Palisades Drive. Can you hear me better now?
Much better. Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that.
Big money right there.
So you, according to Brittany, we had her on earlier, you were the friend who heeded that warning even before there was any type of evacuation order or any discussion of an evacuation order.
Yes, that's right. At around 10:40, I saw the black plumes of smoke start to erupt, like really small, very small compared to what it is now. And I'm an LA native, so I'm pretty accustomed to what a fire looks like. So I texted my husband and I texted Brittany immediately.
And what did you do? You've evacuated the area?
Yes. I mean, so once I saw that smoke, I kind of took I was on standby a little bit, but I saw it grow pretty rapidly between 15 to 20 minutes. I packed up the car, I grabbed my necessary documents and any kind of valuables.
Look at new video we have coming into our newsroom right here. Whoa.
Shit.
Look at the palm tree, right? You saw how it was tilted, how loud that sound is. Just imagine being in that area, right? Yeah, it just goes to show how destructive a fire can be, and the smoke, coupled with the wind, which is really driving this devastation, and the noise it can make, all of that vegetation going up in flames. And Maria's been talking about, and we talk about this all the time, how the fire creates its own atmosphere, its own weather system, and you're seeing it right there. Sometimes circulating, you don't know which way the winds are going to blow at times, and things shift at a second's notice. So you never know which way the embers are going to fly, which way the smoke is going to go, and
there you see people
evacuating, forced to leave their homes,
taking off, walking at this point, right? You don't know if they're
burn up the truck
on fire. That was something we were showing earlier and talking about. You're thinking, how did that happen? Because of those embers that fly. And just like that, they get caught somewhere, and that's the result of it. And the person who was in that vehicle got out okay.
Right, and you're looking at all these abandoned vehicles because people just left their cars right there because of that situation where palm fronds or embers became these fireballs coming down onto their cars. They left their cars there and went by foot. And you see people evacuating with their belongings. You got to think about how dire the situation is if you're going on foot in a town where no one walks, right? LA, nobody's walking. There's no public transportation to really help these people along.
Oh, man, got to
go.
Think
about their only choice, they think, is to leave by foot. And that just shows you how dire the situation is and how desperate it must have been.
You got to go to the bathroom.
That's the best solution.
Oh my gosh, look at this gentleman. You wonder what the story
is. Is that Biden?
Here,
no.
He has nothing with him. He's just walking. Hopefully he's okay.
Just trying to get out and get to safety.
If I went to heaven tomorrow, I'd want all diabetics, including you, to know about it. Fed up with headaches, blurred vision,
watching our continuing coverage of that big breaking news out of California. You have been looking at images at the scene here. This huge fire, 700 acres plus in the Pacific Palisades. This is an area that is right in around LA. It's a little bit north of Santa Monica, if you're familiar with the LA geography. And look at this. Tons of smoke. You have something like 20,000 people who have been asked to leave their homes tonight. Not far from downtown Los Angeles, you have some 15,000 people who do not have power. And look at this. Stunning images coming into us with this windstorm that has been forecast. This is live here, I'm being told. A live image of Los Angeles. This forecast of this windstorm over the last 24, 48 hours. You've heard emergency officials saying they have been trying to get ready. They are working to open shelters for the thousands of people who have been evacuated here in LA. I want to get now, as you look, another live shot here. You see that now. The sky is dark. That is not because it is getting dark. That is because of all the smoke that is blanketing the horizon in Los Angeles there. Those thick clouds that have now drifted over downtown LA. You saw from our meteorologist there from our sister station at KNBC.
Yeah.
They can see those clouds of smoke
he's
from
looking
the
all
satellite,
around there.
essentially,
Oh,
from the
there
radar,
he is.
basically.
Yeah.
That's how they're able to track some of this. Teams
It'd have
standing
been a
by, not
perfect
just our colleagues
human
at our
interest story, you know.
station out in LA. Jacob Soboroff is there. Bill Cairns is standing by. But I want to start with Chase Kane, who has made his way on the ground. Chase, you're there. What are you seeing? Talk us through it.
Hallie, we're at a pretty famous, pretty well-known intersection. This is the Pacific Coast Highway and Sunset Boulevard, the famous Sunset Boulevard. I'm going to step out of the way and show you kind of what's going on here, because you can see that thick black smoke that you're referencing just on the ridgeline. We've actually seen in some of these apartment and condo buildings here on the hillside, we've actually seen flames popping up. I had to make my way on foot down Sunset Boulevard to get to the rest of my crew here. And as I was walking down Sunset Boulevard, there were several dozen cars which had to just be abandoned on Sunset Boulevard because one of those embers was picked up.
Gas station right there.
Came down and started a whole new fire.
Oh,
so
shit.
Firefighters and police were rushing to try and get people out of their cars. I mean, people were literally
$5
running
a
down
gallon
the sidewalk
almost.
alley to try
Damn.
and get away from these incredibly fast-moving fires. I mean, you can see how even the smoke has picked up and has gotten thicker as it's blowing toward us right now. Firefighters are doing their best, but in conditions like this, it's virtually impossible for them to stop a fire.
That's my moderator. That's my moderator.
The fire
See,
officials here say that nearly 800 acres have already burned. This is a
he's
densely
commenting on the
populated area
video.
for anyone that knows this part of Los Angeles.
Making it legal.
Santa Monica is within eyesight. Malibu is also just right up the road. Again, we are in Pacific Palisades,
Yeah.
not far from where the
I don't know where they
Palisades fire
keep
is
getting
moving
these same
Spaghetti Villa is
goggles
also just
at.
up
They
the
all
road.
got the same goggles
Firefighters are
on.
kind of spreading out. They only have about 250
Yeah.
of them so far, they say, Hallie. So they're doing their best with what they have. But they are calling in more resources to try and get a handle on things. As again, this fire is moving into and potentially was receiving
got a
still black
raincoat
smoke right now,
on?
potentially even burning more of these buildings here, Hallie.
Do we know
Better
yet,
hope
Chase,
that
if
damn thing-
firefighters, we talked about
Yeah,
how
that
this
plastic
is exploding in
raincoat,
size, right?
shit.
From a couple hundred acres,
Sucker catch
we are
on
now
fire in a
something like
second, man.
770 acres. Do they have a handle on it? Is the wind preventing that from happening? Like, what do we know about that piece of it?
Yeah, I mean, you can probably just see how, like, these wind gusts are pretty strong. I mean, look at this black smoke that's rolling in right now, Hallie. I mean, yeah, it's just, it's kind of impossible. I mean, you know, they haven't even been able to fly helicopters and planes like they typically would because these winds are so strong. So really the thing that they're doing at this moment is they're just trying to get people out of the way. There are mandatory evacuations in place before we even get to the worst part of the fire here closer to the beach. I mean, there were people who had suitcases, Hallie. They were just walking down the sidewalk as quickly as they can with suitcases.
Oh, shit, there you go.
And they're with my helmet. That's how strong these winds are, Hallie. They're just trying to get whatever
I
they
mean,
can
that
out
is
of the
just
way.
from, that just is the wind taking your helmet off. Chase, give me a beat. I'm going to let you go. Get your helmet. That's critical. Go do that.
Oh, yeah,
I want you
gotta
to stay
have
with
that.
me in my ear if you can. I'm going to pull up the pictures live. I'm going to ask our director, Darren, to do that so Chase can go get his safety equipment, which
Oh,
he
yeah.
needs to have on to be able to do that live shot.
Oh,
As we're
yeah.
taking a look now, again,
Yeah.
left side of your screen, these are, again, live images here. I'm going to ask my control room if we know specifically where this is from. I think this might be one of our KNBC live shots here. Yep, it's from KNBC, again,
Yeah.
our station there. It is still the Palisades. You can see that fire truck out in front of what looks like a home. Obviously, listen, the camera shots are a little bit funky. That's because this
Even
is
the
live
policemen
breaking
don't even
news
have
here
hard
as
hats on, you
LA,
know,
is dealing
right there
with
in
the
it.
700-plus acre fire. Is Chase back with us? Did he grab
Probably
his helmet?
some-
Is he doing okay? All right, he's putting it on now.
Whatever.
Okay.
Oh, shit, you got it on.
Yeah,
Now
I
you
got
can
you.
come
Go
back.
ahead.
Oh, she got one on too.
All right, we've lost Chase's shot. Let me go back to the left
Burn
side of your
up.
screen. I think we saw Karma Dickerson there from our
They lost the
KNBC
shot.
station, and her shot even is also a little bit crazy there because, as you can see, these firefighters now trying to put out flames. Now, Karma is one of our reporters who is at KNBC. Within maybe the last half an hour, she was standing out in front of a house. I mean, look at this. You see it here that had caught fire. The firefighters were working to try to get a handle on that. Here is the image. I think this may be Karma Dickerson's live shot there from our affiliate KNBC. She has stepped out of the way there. Just so people know, as you're looking at this, obviously all of our crews take the utmost safety precautions. There is a whole procedure and process in place. These are experienced teams covering wildfires. It is not unfamiliar in Southern California. Let me tell you, having lived out there, having worked out there, you cover wildfires a lot. That's a part of the beat. But something like this in the Palisades, I want to see if Bill Cairns is available. I think it might be helpful for folks to see a map of what we're talking about here. If you don't know the LA area, just to give you a sense
You didn't
of how
get
close
a
it is.
hint.
I see Chase. I'm going to ask him to stand by. Bill, can you quickly just pull up a map, Bill Cairns,
Yep.
to show us where we mean? This isn't out 45 miles away from downtown LA. You know what I mean? This is just north of Santa Monica.
Yeah, so how the director pops up the map
No
here.
ha-
So
no
this is
helmet,
the,
no
Pacific
helmet, no
Palisades.
helmet.
You can see where Topanga Beach is located here once we pop that up.
No helmet.
Weather 8's our source. And so here's Topanga Beach, and this is Casa Lamar, and this is where the fire is here. This is called the Highlands here, and this is the Pacific Palisades. Sunset Boulevard, Palisades drives down here, and then Sunset comes like this, and the Pacific Coast Highway is down here.
Yep.
The fire has started here and moved to the south. The winds are coming this direction, so they're pushing it towards the beach. Now, it's like a hurricane practically right now. The winds are going to get worse overnight. Firefighters are, they're trying to do. We were watching Carmen Schott there, the KNBC reporter, and there were 2 firefighters with hoses on that house, and they have retreated, and that house is now lost. Just to give you an idea of this, it's impossible of what they're trying to go against right now. It's so dry, it is so windy that, containment's not even possible right now.
Bill, that's the shot. Just so people know, I mean, we were just looking at this a few minutes ago. I mean, and this is what we're seeing now. It's smoke. That's all it is, right? Black smoke.
Yeah, so this fire is going to go wherever it wants, Hallie. I mean, they were doing some airdrops earlier in the day. I haven't seen any planes in at least the last hour or two because the winds are starting to increase. They may have just said it's not safe. I know the helicopters can't fly. We're not seeing aerials from our NBC station in LA because they don't have permission to fly.
Did you see the fire out in
California?
California?
Well over 50 miles per hour, which is their criteria. So we're seeing a lot of ground shots here, and that's the shot of that house that they're still spraying water on it. If you missed it earlier when we were doing the coverage, the firefighters actually went into this home, removed what looked like a grandfather clock, an antique, put it across the street. They grabbed photo albums. So these firefighters almost knew that it was almost hopeless to try to save this, but they wanted to save something for the homeowners. And there's so many heroic things that are happening out there right now.
No helmet.
We're watching a woman. Leah, let me just, I think this is Chase Kane's live shot. I'm going to ask our control room to direct me on that front. It looks like it's somebody in a wheelchair being pushed by somebody else. Being
Looks like
directed.
somebody
Chase, can you tell us
on
what's going on?
If you're unsure or unaware of your eyeglass prescription, or if your prescription changes frequently.
Yeah, hey Hallie, this is again, this is the kind of situation where you see here, this is a Los Angeles parking enforcement officer. This is that's showing you that this is truly
Give her the mask.
situation. They're trying to help these 2 ladies who are clearly trying to get out of harm's way. I don't want to interfere with them giving her care at this moment, but I mean, this is the kind of situation when I was describing just a moment ago that people are coming down the sidewalks with suitcases, sometimes with, just I saw one lady that had just a couple of photos under her arms where people didn't have time. I mean, you can see how quickly this fire is spreading, how strong these winds are. I mean, the plumes of black smoke are just billowing over us right now, Hallie, which, it shows that some of the homes and some of the apartment and condo buildings that are here on this hillside at Sunset and the Pacific Coast Highway, that more of those buildings are burning. Fire officials said that, yes, multiple homes, multiple structures have burned. They don't know how many yet. They have reports of injuries. They don't know how many people may have been hurt.
You gotta put that chin strap on, man. Look at that, fell off.
Chase, I'm going to ask you to stand by. I want to go to Jacob Soboroff now, who's standing by for us. Jacob, I know you're getting ready to head out to get on the ground a little bit closer to where things are happening. Listen, give us some context, right? I think it was last month, it was Pepperdine that had that pretty intense fire. That's further out in Malibu. This is closer to LA. You know this area well. You were telling us just 25 minutes ago. You were born and raised in the Pacific Palisades. Talk us through what people watching around the country should know.
Where Chase is right now, Hallie, is at as he said, the intersection of Pacific Coast Highway and Sunset Boulevard. And the fact, to me, what sticks out is that the fact that the flames have moved from the areas that you're watching on your screen right at this moment in the Palisades Highlands, up Bienvenida Avenue, up in the Santa Monica Mountains, down to the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Pacific Coast Highway. Those flames have literally, it's not an exaggeration to say, those flames have literally traveled miles from the place where they started this morning down to literally to the Pacific Ocean. Where Chase is, that parking lot is the famous Gladstone's restaurant. It's a famous surf spot as well, the Sunset Surf.
Up on Palisades Drive just had to come through and literally bulldoze these cars out of the way so that people and
other agencies pass on through trying to get there also to help. So this is an all hands on deck. firefight, the Palisades fire. It's not just LAFD. We know that Bay Area crews were called in, and they were sent down yesterday and the day before to stage for this life-threatening event. And this doesn't happen often. It's just happened to have happened more often of late in Southern California, beginning with the Franklin fire, and then prior to that it was the Ventura County fire that we covered too. That was really devastating to that neighborhood. So here we go again with these life-threatening fire conditions, and we're seeing the result of all of that as people are trying to get out. When we talk about evacuations, bottom line, if you live in Pacific Palisades, you are under an evacuation order. It's now or it could be never, and we don't want you to be in that situation.
That's right. And we are waiting to hear from Mayor Karen Bass, who will be joining the fire officials at Will Rogers State Beach with the official update on what exactly is happening, and they're going to give numbers in terms of total acreage that is burned, but so far it's nearly 800 acres.
How you doing, Ben?
Again, this fire breaking out at 10:30. Again, now we're hearing Karen Bass will not be at
offense. But if you still think,
let's see what we can find here.
wow. Hold on.
One, fire.ca.gov. And why do I say that? Nothing like it in the countries, nothing like that we've seen in any jurisdiction around the world. 3D maps and live cams on fire.ca.gov. It also will show you the evacuation orders. I encourage people to take a look at that site for information. And of course, ready.ca.org to make sure that you're prepared as we work through yet another extraordinary month in this fire year, perpetual fire year here in the state of California. Thank you again to all of the folks behind me and the outstanding leadership of all the elected officials as well. And forgive me, one point I'd be remiss. Thank you to Mayor Bass, who was on the phone immediately this morning, making sure even in absentia that she's here organizing everything she can to make sure we're successful as well.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate that. We'd like to open this up now for Spanish, and then we'll go to questions. So we'd like to have Public Information Officer for LAFD, David Ortiz.
So as they do the Spanish translation, I just want to recap some of the news that just came from there. Governor Newsom saying that he's been in contact with President Biden, who happens to be in Southern California today, and that emergency funding from the federal government is coming. He said he didn't want to bring politics into it, although he did get a little bit of a dig at Donald Trump, who has potentially threatened withholding emergency funding in the future if Newsom doesn't do what he wants. That's why he was suggesting that Joe Biden did not give any questions asked there. The basics here, the good news, Marla, is that so far no injuries, but interesting how Governor Newsom mentioned the fact that he saw multiple structures burn. We don't have any actual number yet, but he made it seem like it wasn't just a few that are burning. And we are getting some indication from our reporter Christy Fajardo on the ground that Palisades High School may be burning. We're trying to get more details on that and hopefully get to her soon. But that is a dangerous situation.
30,000 residents under evacuation, 25,000 plus households currently remain threatened. Best news is no injuries to speak of. Again, it's early in the investigation and in this firefight, so that could very well change. You mentioned that Pacific Palisades, Palisades High School is currently on fire. The Getty Villa was also threatened earlier, but I'm seeing images and being told that the fire, the flames did make its way around the Getty Villa, so that at this point has been preserved. On the ground, we also have Chelsea Edwards joining our coverage now. If Chelsea's available, there you are. You're in the Highlands area. They talked about this area being vulnerable and obviously under evacuation zone.
Now, we do have some good news to report in that vein. So this was the area where a lot of people were told to go back and then shelter in place. This area is under an evacuation order, but earlier today, the fire, they say, jumped Palisades Drive, and this is the only way in and out. Firefighters just thought it was too dangerous to be getting people down this canyon, so they pushed everyone who was on the north side of it up and everyone on the south side of it down, and told everyone on the north side to shelter in place. But you can see these cars coming down now, so this is good news. They've just allowed these residents out of their homes. I understand we've got another press conference that we're going to. Is that right?
Yeah. So, Chelsea, thank you. We're going to go back to the press conference. They're now answering questions. Let's listen to Chief Kristen Crowder.
We did push out information for people to evacuate. Now, the lean forward posture, and I want to talk about that first and foremost, was communicating the potential threat of what was coming. That information was out. It was out early in regard to everybody be ready, set, and go. When that go order came out, at that point, that is that very important point where the public can and should heed that warning and start to evacuate. Now, we know there's limited access and egress in certain areas within the hills right behind me. So with that, that's what we believe did happen. People did evacuate. It was slow to evacuate. What I have been briefed on is that the evacuations were slow, but they did occur, and we will follow up on that if there's anything better in the future that we can communicate to the constituents and continue to train to that, because the evacuation order, we can never do it early enough. So with that, we want to continue to work with the community, ensure that when that evacuation order happens, that they can evacuate in a timely manner. But we understand what you're saying. Sure.
You mentioned the current administration. I'm not getting into the politics of it, but what's your message about what we just saw here today? Given that that's going to be part of it, we know that there's going to be collaboration with state and
We're all in this together. None of us are asking for respective political identities around here. Everybody's rowing in the same direction because everyone gives a damn. They're here for each other, and that's the spirit that defines the best of this state and this country. No one here is playing politics. We have an American president in Joe Biden that recognizes his responsibility in times of emergency. When Americans are in need, he steps up, he steps in, not qualified by a particular request or an expectation. And so, again, I say what I said because at the moment I don't take that for granted, candidly, like I have been the last few years. It's rather precious. And my message to the incoming administration, and I'm not here to play any politics, is please don't play any politics. There's a time and place for that. And at this moment where your question only reinforces the moments, the precious moments that we have to evacuate, we don't have time for any of that mishigash.
Go ahead, Bert. With the worst wind yet to come, what's the plan in place? Obviously, I know you're probably trying to get as many, boots on the ground as possible, but also in the air, coming from people who are privileged left, as you're saying. They were wondering as well why, I know you guys are probably doing everything you can to get as many aircraft, but to drop more water, that's their concern.
Questions in reference to the increased severity of wind and resources? Okay.
Yeah, was your question regarding nighttime aircraft operations?
Yeah, just obviously the worst is yet to come at about 10 p.m. and overnight.
Right, so the plan is they're developing a plan for nighttime air operations. It's going to be a combination of LA City fire units, LA County fire units, state fire units, and that quick reaction force of the CH-47s that drop retardant at night. We are going to take advantage of the lower temperatures at night, but with increased wind speed, aerial firefighting becomes more dangerous. There is a cutoff mile-per-hour wind at which we will not operate at night. Flying during the night is more dangerous than flying during the day. We want to make sure that we don't get anybody killed, but we do want to fly both day and night. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. I mean, it's going to be interesting. If the winds are going to get worse right now, it's going to be very difficult for our aerial assets to actually make a difference for the folks on the ground.
What's the cutoff?
It could be 30 to 40 miles an hour. sustained. You know, we do have history of operating with high gusts, but it really isn't effective because as the water exits the bottom of the drop tank, it just gets carried away by the wind and never reaches the ground. So there really is no point to putting people at risk if that firefight isn't making a difference.
Oh, okay.
What was your answer question?
Skimming off of him.
Yeah, I mean, this is only one fire. We've got, you know, 2 more days of this, too. I mean, I don't know how many resources, how more people you're able to, you know,
Well, that's
get
the
up
beauty
there.
of automatic and mutual aid. So there's automatic aid agreements between all of these agencies here. They brought their additional boots on the ground. And as the governor mentioned, we have state mutual aid. So CAL FIRES come in. We'll get the appropriate quantity and type of resources to mitigate this emergency. And it's an opportunity of neighbor helping neighbor. And we will do the same thing in Northern California when they need it. Yes, ma'am.
Let's see what else trouble we can get into. Let's see.
Sure. So questions about abandoned cars. That's a good question that has come up. Law enforcement assists us heavily with evacuation. But please remember, it's an active incident. We don't have the answers to all of these questions. We will certainly look at that. That's very important. I don't know if police felt like they wanted to make a mention to evacuations. Okay.
Yeah, just on that question of evacuations, vehicles left on the roadway. If you have to leave a vehicle on the roadway, get it as far off the road as you can so that emergency vehicles can't get by. The gist of moving them with bulldozers was an emergency situation. You got to get those fire resources through, and they do what they have to do to be able to facilitate that. So we're asking really for the cooperation, and think a couple of steps ahead. It's not just your vehicle there, but then others line up behind you as well as they see what you're doing. And so I can't stress enough, please follow the evacuation orders. Do your best to be able to get out to safety. Bring the equipment you will need for the next couple of days with you, because as you've heard over and over again, this is not going to end very quickly. Thank you.
I don't exactly know where he's at.
Just expand a little bit. On Saturday, state started to convene
2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning,
respective leadership across the state of California at the Office of Emergency Services. We started to pre-position early evening on Sunday in 6 or 7 counties here in Southern California. Quite literally moved assets from Northern California into Southern California. Just as an example, moments ago we had a chance to meet a crew from Santa Cruz and from Santa Clara County that just were deployed up the mountain. Those resources remain pre-positioned currently in other counties in anticipation of the concerns you just expressed in the wind events. We are anticipating, hopefully we're wrong, but we're anticipating other fires happening concurrently. And that's exactly the previous experience we've had with these kinds of wind events. And that's why we continue to provide and supplement those resources from all across Northern California in particular. One final thing, because I think it's important. My phone lights up all the time, including this morning, about people saying, well, where are all the planes? You said you put all these assets. I want to see them. It was important what the chiefs just said. We could be up there all day making people feel good, but we're not doing any good because that retardant flies all over the place. And so it's not that the planes themselves can't handle the turbulence and the wind shears. It's that simply you're not suppressing anything. And so it is a point, I know, of frustration, but then it also reinforces the preciousness of the hand crews and the men and women that are on the ground holding the line, that are up there as we speak. And that's also part of the specialty units that are part of these larger operations. We have an incident command team that quite literally is organized here in real time, and we're gaming out the next few days with the benefit of something we haven't had in the past, new technology. Technoscivil and other AI-enabled technology that allows us predictive capacity in a way we've never had in the past, which is also aiding our efforts to not just prevent in some cases as it relates to early detection, but also prepare to suppress in subsequent incidences.
Yes, sir.
With winds expected to pick up, do we have any projections for where the fire might move next, or any areas that might be at risk?
It's been moving in a southwest direction towards Getty, which is moving towards the Los Angeles County Fire Department's jurisdiction. It did begin in the city, and that's the Unified Command. Good.
And real quick, I know you said that there's no reported injuries. Are there any unaccounted individuals, and if so, do you have a count on that?
Not that we're aware of at this point. So that is part of the process. They are having evacuation groups that are looking at that, but we're not aware of any individuals unaccounted for. We did receive multiple 911 calls for a particular address. We did send resources in to rescue people.
Internet freedom is rising extremely.
What are you telling folks in the west area, Santa Monica, further south? Should they stay put? Should they keep their phones on overnight? I mean, what should people do who are kind of on the edge here between the fire zone and non-fire?
Okay, so what are we telling the people south of the
Show
fire?
you this radio over here.
You want me to take that or somebody else? Okay.
Thank you for asking that question. Your question was, what are we communicating to individuals that are south of the incident? I think it's really, really important for the entire public to understand, as you can see, how dynamic these winds are and how quickly they can change on a dime. So you may think, okay, I'm safe, but the key is the communication. Listen for those evacuation orders and warnings, and also be super hyper diligent in regard to what could happen. If an individual within the community wants to lean forward and to say, I'm not going to risk anything, I'm just going to go and go to a different area where it may be safer. Just know from the south, and with the winds as unpredictable as they are, there's very, very much at risk. So we want people to be very cognizant of that, make good decisions, make sure they can understand real-time information, and we will communicate that and articulate that very clearly. But this is very, very, very dynamic. And you can just, by standing here, seeing us with the wind gusts and with the predictability of this wind's going to get worse tonight. So we want people to lean forward, ready, set, go, and be ready. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go ahead and conclude the press conference at this point. We'll let you know if we have another press conference tonight. That's not necessarily likely. There will be PIOs available here for additional questions. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., we do anticipate to have another joint press conference. Thank you all for sharing this important information.
All right, we've just wrapped the latest from county and city and state officials. Again, the count is just over 1,200 acres, close to 1,300 acres. Multiple structures burned, but they don't have a count as to how many exactly. Best news is, at this point, no injuries to speak of. Let's go on the ground, though, to Christy Fajardo. She is out there, and it is gusting where you are. Where are you, Christy?
Out of there.
I'm actually on Sunset at Via de la Paz, and we just witnessed how quickly things can change, because when that press conference started, we were actually at Sunset and Temescal Canyon, and suddenly it got very dark. It looked almost like nighttime. The winds were gusting, and there was ash and smoke just being kicked up, and suddenly that fire just exploded. Unfortunately, we know that there have been a couple of more structures that have been added to the damaged, at least, toll since that press conference started, because we saw houses on the hill, and suddenly some of that was on fire, and there was one man who raced down. He was in a convertible, and he told us that his house was one of them. He said it was on fire as he was leaving. And I want to show you what it looks like now. You can see how smoky it is. Visibility is very, very poor here, and we're not that far from Temescal and Sunset. Unfortunately, as we were leaving, we could see that Pali High, that there was things that were burning there. I do not know if they were structures, but something on the property was definitely on fire. Hopefully it was shrubs. We were facing the field, so it might have been something in the field that was on fire.
Weather,
and sadly, there were also palm trees on the south side of Temescal.
Seemed like it anyway,
you know. Also on fire, and apartment buildings there were threatened, and people, the ones who had not evacuated, were streaming out. And now, as you can see, you can even hear them. Fire alarms are going off all around us. The LAPD just came through here and ordered the
just messing with this
on the corner here, the 76 to close.
RCA
and
co-pilot
we're seeing
right
little
here.
spot fires. In fact, if we pan this way, you might be able to see
It
that
was
there's
in my way
one started in the
earlier
parking lot of this
in another
Gelson's,
room, and I
because
said,
every
let
now
me
and
get
then
it
we
out
get
and
these
look
big
at
gusts,
it.
and it starts
It's
raining
taking the
embers.
battery out of
and
the mic.
unfortunately, we've also been seeing the power
Well, that
lines
goes
working
bad.
on Via de la Paz, so very dangerous situation. And those who
Battery's
have not
dead anyway.
opted to leave are now leaving. And can we pan over
Been
there and
watching
show
the
those
fires
shopping
out
carts?
in
That's how
California.
gusty it is. They're just moving around
Just got through
in this
watching a
parking
bunch of those
structure. And that
clips
is
of the
essentially what
fires.
firefighters are dealing with at this hour. And you can see the gusts just hit whatever was burning over there.
Yeah,
and
I'm
now
gonna
we're
have to
starting
get
to
a
see flames. And that is how quickly the
little
situation
mag mounted
can change.
antenna
Let's send it back
sitting
to
in
you.
here.
Yeah, we
I
talk
got
about
one.
the fact that embers in these situations can potentially go 2 miles. And so you think of all of those spots that we're seeing in that image right there.
That's
There's
the
a
radio.
little fire there, a little fire there, in all these
23
different
channel
directions. So not only
SWR,
could the fire start there, but those
calibrate,
could then become
squelch,
embers
volume.
that move in other directions that could
Local
start another
DX.
fire.
I
So
don't know
what's
why
so
they put that on
challenging
there. I guess
for the
like a
firefighters, as you see
RF
from
gain.
these images, is that you can't
CBPA,
be everywhere,
noise
Marla.
bank,
There's
blanket
just
on and off,
too
A&L
many
on and off.
fires. And it becomes a question of
Delta
where do you go,
tune,
what's the priority,
plus
and
or
in some
minus,
places that
and then
means
you
you
got
have to
your
let
meter
homes
reading,
burn, which is a
your
horrible
RF,
situation for any of the
you
homeowners
calibrate and
who are
SWR.
impacted by that. But that's the tough calculation that these fire crews are having to do.
Let's go to Chelsea Edwards. She's at Sunset and Palisades, and you are, it looks like, where all of those cars were
Yeah, he
bulldozed
just gave
earlier.
2112
I
one
mean,
like
the
this.
only
If
word
there's,
that
I
comes
think,
to
40
mind,
channel
honestly,
version.
Marla and Alex, is apocalyptic. I mean, you just look at this and can imagine the panic these people must have felt when this was going on. So they're trying to
We got
get
to
out. There's
redo
some
that
bolt
right there.
directions,
Who
as you
did
can see,
that?
and then a bulldozer, which is just up to the left up there, up on Palisades
I
Drive,
will
just had to
redo
come
that.
through and literally
Yep.
bulldoze these cars out of the way so that people and so that emergency responders especially could get through to either side. And that's because the fire is really on all
Hey.
sides of where we're standing right now here in the Highlands.
Yeah.
So again, we're on Sunset
Little
Boulevard,
stock,
right near
yeah.
Palisades Drive. This is where a lot of people up in the Highlands were told to evacuate, but then the fire jumped Palisades Drive, which is really the only way in and out of that particular neighborhood. And that's when authorities made the difficult decision to say, you know what, if you're north of this, you got to go back and shelter in place. We'll try to come when we can. Thankfully, they have been
Somebody
able to
went
do
through there
that.
instead
Those
of putting the
residents
plug
who are
in
up
there.
there
I've
have
got
now
the
been able to
plug.
come down the hill, which is very good news. But look at some
Oh,
of this
why they
aftermath,
did that.
Elliot.
I guess they
If we can
didn't
turn
have
to
that
our left
plug.
here, look at this canyon. So when we first got here, this was on fire. I mean, you could barely see. Visibility was very, very low. A lot of debris in the air, still is in the air, and you can see how the wind is just pushing the smoke. So echoing what Christy was saying, the
I
wind is
don't
just
know,
so
really.
unpredictable. I mean, there's times
I
where
really don't
it's
know
it's
who
kind of
made
laying
them.
down and it seems almost
Probably
like it's not
RCA,
moving, and then out of nowhere, my colleague Elliot
same
Mendoza
ones
and I
that
are
made the
almost,
ones from
we're
General
about to get
Electric.
knocked over because it's just so powerful in one direction, and then 2 minutes later it's blowing
Might
in
have
the
been
other direction.
Cybernet,
So
I don't know.
right now, obviously going pretty strongly this way, but look at this charred hillside.
I don't
There's
know.
just no vegetation left on this, and unfortunately, from our camera and from
If
our
Night
angle for the
Ranger
last,
was on here, he could
for
tell us.
probably an hour now, we have seen a lot of plumes of black smoke,
Let's see
very
if I
large
can
plumes
find
of
out.
black smoke. A big one is up there, which is sort of in the Highlands neighborhood. It's hard to tell exactly where that is, but it appears that there.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Elliot.
Sleepy.
Sorry, just stepped on some debris from a car here. This is actually a side mirror, it looks like, that was bulldozed off. But when we look up there and we see those black plumes, unfortunately, you know, that's an indication that homes are burning up there, especially when they're that size, the plumes that we've been seeing. You can see the smoke is thickening as well, and we've been seeing a lot of this where the conditions just rapidly change. For a minute there, we were up this way on Sunset Boulevard to the east. Our live truck was kind of parked and facing uphill, but all of a sudden flames started coming from this Lake Shrine area, which is just south of this hedge where we're standing here.
Yeah, I don't
and they
know
got
what it
so
is
close to the
here.
truck, we had to just jump in and get out of
Like
there. There were actually
37.
some people who were not firefighters. I'm not sure who these people were, but they were picking up the firefighters' hoses and trying to save some of these cars because
31
the flames were just
degrees.
coming right up against these cars and right up against our live van. I actively saw them save at least one car up that way a little bit from just going up
hippie.
into flames. And of course, the danger is that any of these cars go up into flames. These are all scrunched together. No one has keys. There's no one here to operate these cars. If one goes up, there's a high likelihood that they could all go up together.
What
But
does
just look at this
304
scene. I mean,
mean?
look at the force that would have hit this. You got the side mirror knocked off. You've got this whole front bumper, this whole front area dented. Over here, same thing. I mean, they just had to plow their way through in order to get these emergency responders to different areas. Now, again, the fire is on all sides of us. So if we look up this hillside, you can see some charring up there. Those were active flames when we first got here. We saw a lot of large embers that were just flying around. I mean, it's, again, just one of those things where it's unpredictable. You don't know where they're going to land, where they could spark, where they're going to end up. So, you know, you're dealing with that, and then you look again to the distance. Elliot, if you can go up a little bit and see those flames up. I don't know if that's a home or if those are you know, what those are up there, but something's burning up there. And you just think, I mean, it's just unpredictable out here. It's just a wild scene. But the good news is all those people that were up in the Highlands area who were told to turn around, which must have been just terrifying for those people up there to have to turn around and go back to your homes when there are active flames encroaching in. All of those residents, at least according to the people that I've spoken to on the ground, have now been allowed out of their homes. They got police escorts and fire personnel escorts down the hill. They were very eagerly taking a right. I tried to talk to a couple of them as they were coming down, and the looks on their faces were very telling. They wanted nothing to do with anything that did not involve getting out of there. It's been a harrowing day for everybody living up there, and it looks, at least from where we're standing, and we haven't confirmed this, but it looks like homes were lost somewhere in that vicinity. Again, these huge black plumes of smoke that have been coming up just time and time again. We're hearing explosion after explosion. Don't know if those are transformers or what, but there's also action down here. We've got some palm fronds that were that had started to go up. We saw some police officers grabbing fire hoses and dousing kind of upwards, trying to get those palm trees so that they wouldn't go up and then cause embers to fly, which would, of course, endanger everybody in this area as well. So, I mean, just looking at this as you walk around, it feels like we're either on a movie set or... I mean, we're not. This is real life, and this is the reality of how dangerous these fires are and how quickly these emergency responders have to make decisions when it is just such an emergency like this. I mean, there was obviously, when you look at the aftermath, there was just no time. I mean, they just had to make that call and say, all right, we got to move these cars. And they did it. And this is the aftermath. So, you know, and, you know, I also have to think about the people who are in these cars. Imagine the terror to make that decision. I know we've been talking about that on our air all day, but, you know, at what point in your mind do you think, okay, we've got to go, you know, let's leave everything in the car. Let's leave our valuables. Let's leave the car, which is valuable, of course. A lot of these are very nice cars. And just run.
We were watching it
Elliot,
on
look
here.
over here. We've got some active flames. So this has been flaring up quite a bit. Not sure exactly where this is. This is looking west on Sunset, but you see those big flames over there. There's a lot of vegetation back there, and we've seen a lot of these flare-ups. But we've also seen right in that pocket, so somewhere west of Palisades Drive, also, again, those big plumes of black smoke, which indicates that something else is burning up there. So obviously some vegetation. Not sure if that's a home or not, but I mean, really everywhere you look, you can see pockets of active flame, and you can certainly feel it in the air, see it in the air. The visibility is very low, and the smoke is just so incredibly thick. So, I mean, it's just a wild scene out here. But again, that good news, it does appear that they were able to get everyone who was sheltering in place up in the Highlands. They were able to get them out to safety. So obviously this is an active and developing situation. We'll be here on the ground bringing you the latest as we get it. Just wild.
Chelsea, what's it like driving around right now?
Driving, well...
Yeah, let's back up with these wires. Also, probably there's that embers off to the left. Look at that. That's that hedge. Remember, we saw that just about 2-3 minutes ago. It's gone. That home, my goodness. It's gone. That home, my goodness. We have not seen any residents. A couple of folks here with their little cameras out, perhaps with social media or something. They're taking some pictures. But no, we haven't seen, luckily, any folks around here. There's a few folks on Sunset going through the village itself earlier. Oh, there goes that house, or what's left of it, all the way down at the end of that block. But luckily, most of this area, and again, we are just behind Gelson's, the heart of the village of the Palisades. It's evacuated, and this street, Antioch, just below Hannaford, several homes, 5, 6 by my count.
He's my moderator.
What a picture. As we keep pointing out that the winds are just going to pick up. You know, we're nearing the 5 o'clock hour. This fire broke out at 10:30 this morning as just 10 acres. It's now close to 1,300. I'm sure it's well.
Somebody set it on fire, you know. Yeah.
And we're just seeing that this is one street in the Palisades. As Ed has said, this is the heart of it, right behind the Gelsons.
And look how quickly that fire, like right here, as Ed just showed us, that was almost nothing a few seconds ago. And let's hope that that does not turn into a fire right there for that house. But there's really nothing to stop it. And this is the challenge for firefighters during these events. We saw this happen in 2018 during the Woolsey fire, which also exploded in size and was one of the worst fires in Southern California. When there's this ferocious of winds, able to take...
I'm going to be getting out of here at 8 o'clock. I got some other things I got to do. Just wanted to check on this fire deal here and experiment a little bit more on this Prism Live. I was out here last night about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't get it to stop what I had starting it to do. It wouldn't get off of it, so I had to uninstall it and install it again.
For the residents who may be living on this street and watching our stream or watching this on a different station and knowing that their home is now burning.
No, I didn't see that one. I've been all over the place on these things. I didn't see that one.
So for these people is there's really nothing that can be done to stop this, at least in the interim, because some streets at this point, just because of the...
Let's see if we can get Tommy Temper again.
Some streets are going to be protected, and sometimes it just is lucky in being in the right place at the right time. And it's oftentimes, Marla, we see on these streets where 1 or 2 homes or 3 homes burn, and then across the street,
If they get me, they'll have to get him.
Yeah, last company reporting the structure identifier and where you reported.
We're here at this gate. You see, he's right there. You can do that if you're there, you know, right there. So that's why I got him, or it, or they, right here.
We are currently on 643 Haverford Avenue.
I don't know which one would be the visitor center, but here's a cafe right there.
Chicken moderator, yep. That's Tommy Temper right there. He's in Canada.
You can see where it is in relationship with
the laundry room is on
reporting that.
4.
At that location.
No signs of smoke or fire. We need no blowers. We're still investigating with our tech.
It's pretty serious stuff here, folks.
The Getty Villa. Oh boy.
As the sun starts to set on the west coast.
You're on command. Traffic for 9380 Charlie.
Full Central, yeah, that's what I was saying there. Santa Ana wind. That's what I was thinking.
Traffic for 9380 Charlie.
A warm wind that would blow from the inside inland over the desert, right? So it's a warm wind, so it's actually really bad if you have a fire these days. It's not like a cold wind blowing it away from the population. This is like, if anything starts in the forest, well, it's going to blow right into the population towards the coast. Seems like we're hearing stuff. I think the fire must have gone down that canyon and is burning stuff like in that mobile home park or whatever. They're right close to the canyon.
South RCA V1.
Pretty crazy stuff.
Coming in, they're over at...
It's always dry out there, man. Seem like.
Downwind, yeah, that's good. Look at that smoke. So you want to get away from that smoke real quick.
Yeah, there you are, 938 Charlie. Hey, you have your start team formed up?
That whole highway is closed off there.
Coming in, they're over at PCH in Topanga.
You can't drive through that smoke there.
Okay, I'm going to bring you to PCH Topanga. I need you to do point protection west of Topanga.
Patanga.
I'll be assigned to Division Sierra, and we'll be working west. Bring on PGH.
I'll take that CLAV1.
Yeah, for once you go west of Casa Tango, face to face with you. Copy that.
Biden will be there tomorrow checking it out. Go out there and see what's going on.
Got 10 minutes from now.
Okay, Stanistone.
We were watching a news conference where they were standing outside there, and it moved the guy's camera, and I'm pretty sure the winds were so strong. So, yeah, it was pretty windy. You can see in the video right here how you can see how the smoke is moving. And they might not be able to water bomb if it's too windy there during the evening, right? Because it's too dangerous.
Fire on the line for Will Roger and Reba Canyon. The fire in Reba.
We're listening to 3 different feeds here. One of them is like a command for the bombers, the water bombers. And some of them are feeds that are being redistributed, so I'll hear something twice once in a while.
Engine 233 entering BLS
44. To support our operation if possible.
Somebody support our operation if possible.
Engine 17
Yeah.
entering ALS Orange Drive and Newland Avenue.
LA V1. Go ahead for operation. Place Ops LA. Report of structure fire above the mobile home park at Aloha. Address 59 at the Lomar.
Waterfall.
LA V1 at the Lomar.
47 code available.
7 investigation outside, time C1, North Research.
Wow, look at all those trailers. Is that trailers?
Palisades Ops LA. Reporter of structure fire above the mobile home park at Aloha. Address 15859 at the Lomar. 15859 at the Lomar. Do a little push out to the
Somewhere right in there.
running through the retardants.
LA operation stop. We have been there.
There's your blue trash can.
Helicopters off the where? Resources on.
There was nothing over there.
House right here.
Nothing there.
It's on fire. It's a fairly big house. Looks like it's got tile roof on it. The family wants to report.
Hell, that catch on fire.
And if you see where that is, in location to the mobile home park, where that other fire was, you can right over.
A lot of trailers in there.
Like the fire was burning down here.
Damn.
And then spreading over, like burning down here, and then probably spreading over this direction here.
Yeah, from they've got
talking about crossing the canyon. So I think that's the canyon you're talking about. Sunset Canyon Road.
That's the latest fire just reported.
Okay, Task Force 43, that's a good copy.
2452, 2042.
Now you can see where it is in relation to where the Palisades fire started.
Lincoln Flat 89, ALS 30045, Salem Drive.
And you can see where they also pegged, there's a guy up here trapped at that location there where he can't get out of that location, so they told him to hunker down.
Oh yeah, the waterfall all the time, yeah. SDR thing.
In a house.
Sorry, you broke it again.
Subdivision.
The best one I seen that back in the day when they first kind of started it.
Or it's hard to interface with the chat.
I was in the chat there with Motormouth Mall, and I said, hey, I had heard he printed some stuff on his. And I said, hey, print a couple of 3500Zs on there. And he did. It looked pretty close. He's able to print them on that waterfall.
It's like it's too much for them to handle. It's like fire here, boom.
How he did it, I don't know.
Here, boom. It's like every 30 minutes or something may happen. Even less than that.
I downloaded it somewhere on one of my videos. Take me 2 days to find it.
Anyways, that's where all the action is to get the phone.
Well, I hate to get out of here, but I got some other stuff I got to do. And I've been here for how long? I don't know.
You know what, though?
Don't know. Don't know how long I've been here. But I appreciate y'all coming in.
But there's one here close to all these bushes and stuff.
And information overload. Okay. Not hard to do, huh? Okay, take it easy now, and y'all have a good night.
Aloha. But you know, these fires are weird, and I'll tell you why. Because it's ashes and embers that are blowing in the wind. So they're selected.
See y'all next time.
The whole area is burning. It's going to be selected
Good night.
catch on fire. Right, and that's why what you're seeing is isolated incidents of a fire that might be burning down here pretty strong, and the ashes are flying over here and catching.
You saw that too, Ray?
on fire there.
Okay. Have a good night. I'm getting out of here.